Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the Cassette Phase. So today I want to talk about a subject that is near and dear to the hearts of every 80s and 90s kid, and that is simply summer. Summer memories, summertime, summer break, summer vacation. You know, it's middle of May, it's starting to get really warm here in Texas. The kids are about a week and a half to 2 weeks out from the official start of summer vacation, so I figured this would be a good time to talk about this and take a trip down the summer version of memory lane. So, if you were as excited as I was as a kid about that final bell on the last day of school, come hang out. So what was the last day of school like for you as a kid in the 80s or 90s? I know it's different if we're talking about elementary school versus, middle school, junior high, or even high school. But going way back to the beginning, as a kid in the 80s at Rollingwood Elementary School, I can clearly remember eating lunch outside, not doing a whole lot of learning, obviously, seeing that glorious cart come into the classroom that has the TV and the VCR on it, which was just the signal that you were going to be watching a movie, or maybe even further back, watching a film strip. Who remembers film strips? But yeah, I just remember the last day of school being kind of magical. I think we did a lot of signing of yearbooks, just hanging out with our friends, and literally counting down the last few seconds on the clock before that final bell rang, and everybody hightailing it out into the hallways and out the front of the building. So now, school's out, what are you doing? Are you staying up late that first night? Are you sleeping in the next day? What does your day look like now that summer is finally here? For me, it was most likely waking up and treating it like it was a Saturday morning. Cereal, finding something on TV, whether it was, cartoons real early and then eventually, Price is Right.
Here it comes! Television's most exciting hour of fantastic prizes. The fabulous 60-minute Price is Right. Donna Leahy, come on down.
But if you're anything like me, the TV time didn't last too long because you had to get outside, right? There were bikes to ride. You had to get out on your skateboard. You had friends to see. Kickball tournaments. Whatever the case may be, we were outside as much as we could be. Now, granted, again, like I've said before, I live in the South, so it was always pretty warm. That seemed to bother us a lot less as kids than it does now, honestly. But we've gotten older. What are you gonna do? But yeah, outside most of the day. That was, like I said, riding bikes. For me specifically, there was like a little mini mart convenience store about, 5-minute bike ride away. And as long as you had a little bit of change, you could come out of there with some good stuff. Now and laters, candy, cigarettes, all different kinds of soda, whatever it is you wanted. I remember being in the front yard and trying to teach my friend how to blow a bubble using Bubble Yum, maybe it was Bubblicious. Whichever one had banana berry split as a flavor, that's what I remember we were using. But really being outside was the name of the game, as long as it wasn't too hot. And that didn't always just mean being outside in your neighborhood on your own street. That usually for us meant, at least one miniature vacation someplace. A road trip of some kind to go see family or go to some theme park, something along those lines. Or even if it was just visiting one of the local lakes and going swimming or camping. We had a lot of lakes around us, so that was always kind of a big part of summer, I feel like. Lots of day trips to the surrounding lakes. But while you were outside, what kind of stuff were you playing with? What were you doing? Was it just makeshift kickball tournaments in the yard? Was it running through sprinklers with your friends? I remember that we had not a slip and slide, I had friends that had the actual official slip and slide, but that's not what we had. We had what was called Crocodile Mile. Does anyone remember that one?
What do you do when you see a crocodile?
You run, you slide, you hit the pump, take a dive.
It's Crocodile Mile, the great new water slide with splashdown pool. And the incredible boomerang bump that sends you flying. But watch out for the crocs.
You run, you slide, you hit the pump, take a dive.
Crocodile Mile with boomerang bump and giant splashdown pool.
But when it was super hot, and that was honestly a lot of the time, or even if it was just nighttime, you know, it was getting dark and you finally had to go inside, what kind of things were you doing in the summer when you were indoors? At our house, of course, TV shows, lots of great movies, but the number one thing that we did inside during the summertime was probably play Nintendo. We had a lot of Nintendo going on at our house, various games of all kinds. We had a local place where we would go rent games from. The first time I ever played Excite Bike came from that rental place. Same thing with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Rented that one and played it pretty much nonstop for an entire weekend. Just summer memories for me involve a lot of video games, a lot of playing Nintendo with the friends. So here I've gathered up a few items that I found around the den here, which just happen to remind me of summer. Let me take you through some of these really quick. So obviously the California raisins were a staple in the 80s. Probably one of the best advertising mascots ever, and there were some great ones. But the graphics on these pillowcases, and I had these sheets on my bed as a kid. For some reason, I think it's the palm trees and the stars, they just make me think of summertime. Now this McDonald's Super Summer.
McDonald's presents a Super Summer for your girls and boys. Buy them a Super Summer Happy Meal. They'll get a Super Summer toy.
I got balls for the beach.
That made her smile. Or get this inflatable boat.
I'll sail for a mile.
There's a Happy Pail to fill way up.
This pail makes a castle for my pup.
Or get this neat mold.
I'm making shapes on the sand.
Collect all 5 toys. Make summer grand. McDonald's Super Summer Happy Meal. Hurry, don't delay. Before you know it, summer's gone away.
This was something that they gave out in Happy Meals. I don't remember the year, but it's probably late 80s. And just check out the graphics on this beach ball. The Fry Guys, or the Fry Kids. So awesome. But yeah, you could get either the beach ball as one of your options. Sometimes you would get this pail, which I believe came with a shovel. I don't have the shovel, but yeah, you know, just stuff that you could take to the beach, or for us, more often than not, to the lake is where we usually play with this kind of stuff. Or if you're real little and your friend has a sandbox, you know. I've got a lot of these little PVC figures strewn about here. This one I believe is from the Flintstones movie, or promoting the Flintstones movie. Maybe not. It's probably before that, but I don't know. I've always liked this one, and it just makes me think of summer for some reason. Probably the colors. Now, who remembers these water bottles? It seems like everywhere you went, you could get one of these with a various brand on it. And they didn't really do much to keep your drink cold. I remember I had one that I would fill up with ice and put either water or Gatorade in it and take it to soccer or baseball. And by the time you even got to the field, it was already melted, you know, and just sweating with condensation all over it, but still cool. Some great graphics and colors on some of these. The Ninja Turtles one came, I know, in a few different colors. There was like a neon orange, a bright yellow. I think there was a hot pink one too. Definitely had some of those. The little Garfield Happy Meal toy reminds me of summer. Same with the Mac Tonight from McDonald's there on his skateboard. Got another California raisin. Love the the orange high tops and the sunglasses that match. Another product mascot, Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. I also have the basketball one somewhere. And then what about Snorks? Here's a Snork with an ice cream cone.
Come along with the Snorks. Swim along with the Snorks. So much to see waiting for you and me. Have some fun with the Snorks.
If that doesn't scream summer in the 80s, I don't know what does. Another thing that we did, probably not as much as we should have been doing, but we were supposed to be reading in the summer, right? Didn't our teachers tell us to make sure you read some books while you were out? I know that, excuse me, Pizza Hut had like a promo where if you read so many books, I think you could come get a personal pan pizza or something like that. Remember those book it buttons that you could get if you read enough books on the list? Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. Our teacher actually read this one to us. I remember thinking it was pretty funny at the time. Another one you could have read was something from the Ramona series by Beverly Cleary. Remember Ramona the Pest and all the various, what was her sister's name? Beatrice or Beezus. Ramona and Beezus. You know, the way I saw it, if I made it through one of these books in the summer, I did my job. I did my part. Remember the Boxcar Children? Seems like these kids might be out of school for the summer, getting into some shenanigans. And then as you got a little bit older, did you like Goosebumps? These are shorter too, so you could get through more of these more quickly. I think this was more of a 90s thing, but I definitely remember enjoying some of these books. Another thing that we did when we were inside, we listened to a lot of music. I had a shelf system that had a tape player, a record player, you know, no CDs just yet at the time, but this was one of my most played cassettes, was this Beach Boys tape. It has Still Cruisin' on it, which is a really cool song that you can't find anywhere on streaming services. I've tried. But this one also had Kokomo. Who didn't love Kokomo back then? I remember playing that on the jukebox at a Pizza Hut. And I also remember a friend had a birthday party where his parents had rented out one of those party bus things. It was literally a school bus, which had been painted. And then when you went inside, it had arcade games, a jukebox, all kinds of fun things like that. And I remember my friends being like, play Kokomo, on the jukebox in that party bus. Sticking with cassettes, and I'm going to do a separate video on summer movies. It'll probably actually be a series because there are just so many movies that scream summertime and that just take you back to summer in the 80s or the 90s. And these are just the two first ones that I grabbed. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you ever watch Weekend at Bernie's, it has probably some of the most 80s decor as far as within the houses and things that you'll ever see, especially like for an 80s beach house. Really silly movie, but funny and still fun to watch to this day. And then for the 90s, The Sandlot. Awesome movie. Very summer. Remember the 4th of July scene where everybody's out in the neighborhood having like a block party and all the kids are running around with their sparklers and just having a good time. I mean, what else could you ask for in a summer movie about baseball? And then also the classic scenes at the community pool we had a pool in my hometown that really resembled that pool that you see in this movie. You know, a lot of people did have their own pools in their backyards, but it was still kind of like a social event to go to the neighborhood pool and go swimming, you know, and show off that you weren't afraid to jump off the high dive, you know. And that was always a fun scene too. Good music playing, good snack bar. Yeah, and that's every time I see the pool scenes in the Sandlot, that's what it reminds me of. And I know I did a recent video on sodas of the 80s and the 90s. If you haven't watched that one, you should go check it out. But I have a small collection of vintage soda cans. And I went through, you know, 3 or 4 of them in that video, and I'll do a part 2 soon. But I just pulled this one off the shelf because it looked so summery to me with that tropical chill. And look at that art. I remember the advertising for this. This was probably 1990 or maybe summer of 91, somewhere in there. And from what I understand now, it was a regional campaign. Like, you couldn't get these everywhere, but there were 3 flavors. I have the other 2 also. There was obviously Tropical Chill. There was Raging Raspberry, and Strawberry Burst was the other one. And I don't know if it was kind of like you could pick which one you liked the best and vote or something. I could be making that up. And Pepsi was actually going to consider making one of them a permanent flavor. I don't think that ever panned out. But I did get some of these from Terry's Mini Mart down the street from my house. And I remember sitting on the curb, drinking one of these things, and then riding my bike back home. And there we are. So guys, this is a subject that I could talk about a lot. So bear with me, there will probably be a series of videos coming your way related to summer content. I want to do a summer movie series where I take a look at, you know, a couple of movies that are just better watched during the summertime. I also want to do like a summer snacks type video where we talk about what kind of items were you getting from the ice cream truck when it came through the neighborhood, or what kind of items were you getting at a concession stand at, you know, at your local pool or the skating rink or a baseball game. And speaking of baseball, I loved baseball so much as a kid. I still do. It doesn't quite have that same magic that it used to, but I kind of want to go back and take a look at what made baseball so special to us in the 80s and 90s. So if you enjoy these little trips down memory lane, you know, you're a kid from the 80s or the 90s and like having just a quick little dose of nostalgia in your day, consider subscribing. But for now, guys, as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.